We are going to take a look at the Michael Burnham captain from Star Trek Captain's Chair. So she is one of the 6 captains from this game and is one of the captains from Star Trek Discovery. She kind of starts off not as the captain. She actually starts off as a mutinous prisoner, ends up the captain by the end of the series, which is, quite a move up in rank. So taking a look at her board here, the main mission is a goal: have 2 incident, a scientist and a Kelpian on the same ship, and the science at 5+. Yeah, beaming incidents to a ship, that's kind of crazy. You probably want to find that scientist and Kelpian early, so you can go ahead and stick your incidents on the ship early so you got time to get rid of them. The reward is take the top. It says Discovery, but I think they changed this from a Discovery to Encounter, largely because of Michael Burnham, her ship being the Discovery, and the show she's from being Discovery. That was probably confusing, having different things named Discovery. So take the top Encounter and put it on the top of your deck. Recrystallize up to 2 dilithium. Recrystallize dilithium? Yeah, we're going to get into that later. On the advanced side, investigate the burn is 4 points. Reunite the Federation is 3 points. Have an anomaly logged. Have 3 Starfleet in play, excluding your captain. You have a lot of Starfleet in your deck, so that's not hard to pull off. Have 3 different species, excluding cards with Starfleet, on the same ship, so that takes a little bit more. Draw the top location card and take control of it is the reward. That's just pretty awesome. Just get a location without having to do anything. And dealing with the Emerald Chain, 6 points. Have 2 Business Orion in play and have 2 Shady logged. Now, there's not a lot of Business Orion or Shady. There's a decent amount. You can pick up a lot of business from the locations, so that's a good way to get those. That's 6 points, which is a lot of points, and it's not a lot of work. Reward, you may free play an incident to gain 2 glory, 2 dilithium, and 2 latinum. This is one that you will want to activate this once you have the incident in hand. But taking a look at her, she has 5 away teams, which is kind of the standard for this game. She has Starfleet scientist and human traits, has a science focus, which makes a lot of sense with her science background. She has a passive: during your cleanup step, remove 1 glory from the Stardate card and place 2 dilithium on a card in the market instead. Okay, so she's distributing dilithium around instead of glory. Well, that kind of makes sense for her. Activation: spend 3 dilithium to gain an ally and 1 glory. That sounds like a really good deal there. Being able to get allies just any turn you want for 3 dilithium, that sounds awesome. But you're going to find that Michael Burnham will be a little dilithium poor, and that is because of inert dilithium. One of the things that happened in Star Trek Discovery when they go off into the 32nd century is that they find that all the dilithium had been rendered inert. And that's because this guy from the common card deck, there's the call, cried so hard that he broke all the dilithium in the galaxy. Look, I don't write this stuff, okay? But anyway, inert dilithium. This is kind of a card with a whole different back here. It basically stays out there in the game. Passive: increase your hand size by 1. Well, that sounds good. Yeah, and that is good. So you're basically going to be spending most, if not all, of the game drawing 6 cards a turn. And that's because of these passives. Passive: any dilithium you gain, except from the market, must be placed on this card, unavailable to be spent. If an effect allows you to recrystallize dilithium, move it from here to your supply. And the second passive: You cannot spend glory as dilithium. So when I talked about dilithium pour, that's why. It's got to go here and then get recrystallized. And you cannot spend glory as dilithium. So you can see why that 3 dilithium to gain an ally sounds like a really awesome thing. And it is good, but it's going to be a little harder to pull off because you're going to have the dilithium. Also, Burnham like putting dilithium out on the market and giving and spending dilithium to get allies. Very thematic for what was going on there. One thing that is kind of weird here, this is all set after the burn, and running out of incident cards in this game is considered when the burn happens. So she's like after the burn, but the burn could still happen from running out of cards. I don't know. A little bit of thematic weirdness there. Deployed is the USS Discovery A. It's a ship with Starfleet and anomaly traits with a science and influence token. Action play. Deploy this ship. You may discard a card to free play a person. So you can deploy it. And then the other effect there, being able to free play a person, that can let you squeak in some other things without having to spend all your actions. You have 3 different activation effects. Warp this ship, then refresh this ship. That means that you could just like hop this ship around at the start of any turn. You can move it anywhere. That's because of the spore drive. And that's because the Discovery A can zip around instantaneously between different points by using a drive powered by mushrooms and using a human that's had tardigrade DNA infused into him. Okay, you already know what I said about me not writing this stuff, okay? It also means that you could just, in theory, keep moving around the Discovery A and just do that in a loop for whatever stupid reason. But it means it can bounce between different ones, and that it can be really handy. Second activation, discard a card to beam a card here, and promote a person from your hand to duty officer are pretty standard activations. The passive, your dilithium cannot be stolen. So at least they can't steal the little bit of dilithium you have when you have the Discovery A out there. So that helps make inert dilithium a little bit better. So yeah, she's a little unusual that she has a card that starts off in the incident deck, so not in here. Now, it's probably because of, you don't just start off with it because this is the only incident that she has. So she doesn't start off with one, so you've got to get those. But it also does leave an additional one up there. And this means that your opponent could end up getting this incident and not you. Subspace phenomenon. Of course, the incidents are all -2 points. Discard a card to return this card. If the discarded card has science, focus, or traits, draw 2 cards and discard one of them. In action play, if you have a time travel in play, return this card and draw 2 cards and discard one of them. So we'll get into the basic deck here, and one thing you're going to see is that Burnham has a lot of persons or people. I'm not sure which word to use. Anyway, she has a lot of people in her deck. She actually has 11 person cards, which is a lot. Kayla Detmer, who is synthetic Starfleet human and pilot. She's got some question marks for skills. What? Yeah, we'll go over that. Action play. Discard the top card of your deck. You may discard a card to warp a ship and send an away team to the location you warp to. So this is one of the ways to get away teams out. You're going to have to spend actions to do it. She doesn't have a lot of easy ways to get away teams out there. The passive is this card has 2 wild skill. Now, that passive is if you have Detmer as your duty officer. If she's not the duty officer, then you don't have that. Saru, a person with Starfleet and Kelpian traits. Action play. You may take an incident to scan for a Kelpian. Find a directive. You may free play to found card. There are 2 other Kelpians in the deck. Sakal that I showed you earlier, and the Kelpian ally card. And those are the only 2. Being able to free play a directive can be fun. The resupply requires 2 influence. Reveal your hand. If you have at least 2 person in your hand, gain an action. Well, we talked about that Burnham starts off with 11 people in her deck. So the chances of you having 2 in hand is really pretty good. So leaving Saru around to kind of ensure that you're going to get 4 action turns can be really great. I mean, you're going to be drawing 6 cards because of this and getting 4 actions. A lot of times you end up not spending all of them, but it's just kind of an automatic thing you get. And like I said, most games until later in the game when you really start thinning down the deck, and either, logging people or beaming people to ships or planets, you really do have people come up a lot. Cleveland Booker, telepath with business. A play, gain 1 dilithium and 1 latinum. Remember that this gained dilithium goes to that right there, inert dilithium. Action play, spend 1 dilithium to gain a person or a cargo. Hey, and that's not a lot to get one, but remember you are going to be dilithium poor, so yeah. Activation, for each creature you have in play, either draw a card or gain 1 glory. You've got 2 creatures in the deck. Joanna Owosakun with Starfleet Human and Ops traits. Action play. You may send an away team to the USS Discovery A's location. You may beam a card from your hand or discard pile to the USS Discovery A. If you do both, gain a glory. The resupply is discard the top card of your deck and gain 1 latinum. Her table activation, exhaust the ship to refresh its location. So the activation effect is interesting because you could use, the discovery to do that there. Because remember, warping the ship and then refresh it. If you want to, activate a location, you can just warp discovery to it. And since the discovery refreshes itself, you could exhaust it and then use that location. So it's 2 cards that play really well into each other there. But also her play effects here, just being able to send the away teams to it. Once again, one of the few ways to send away teams out as Burnham. Paul Stamets, a person with scientist, Starfleet, and human traits. He has a science skill. Action play. You may take an incident to gain 2 science. For each deployed ship you have in play, recrystallize 1 dilithium. So this is one of your cards that recrystallizes the lithium. You got to take an incident. Hopefully you have a number of ships when you play this and not just one, so you can actually get a good bit. The action activation, dismiss USS Discovery A and discard to spend 3 dilithium to take the top encounter. It's a nice way to be able to get an encounter, but you got to make him duty officer, and then you got to spend the dilithium and dismiss Discovery A to get it, and you're just taking the top one, whatever it is. Sylvia Tilley with scientist, Starfleet, engineer, and human traits. Action play. For each scientist you have in play, excluding your captain, because she's a scientist, draw a card. For each engineer in place, refresh a captain, cargo, or ship. The free play, which is not an action, log a card from your hand to discard pile to recrystallize 1 dilithium. So you get 1 dilithium on it, which, hey, 1 dilithium is 1 dilithium. It's better than none. You do have to, for one of these, have an anomaly logged or have 2 shady logged for that one. And Tilly is one of your ways to be able to do that. So you can use her to log cards that you need to get logged, and you get a dilithium out of it, from your inert dilithium pile. Table reaction. After gaining a person, discard an incident to send an away team to a location. It's another way to do it there, but you've got to gain a person and then discard an incident, and then send it. It's a lot of ifs to have that, and you got to have her as your duty officer to pull that off. Going into the directives, Inspire. This is one that's unique to Burnham because she doesn't have Utilize, because Utilize usually gives you a lot of dilithium, and you don't really have Burnham trying to gain a lot of dilithium. The action play, draw 2 cards and discard 1 to drawn cards. Gain on 1 specialty track for each matching skill icon you have in play, excluding beamed cards. So you've got the second half of Utilize, which lets you move up your skill tracks. But it does let you draw 2 cards and discard 1 of them, which is a good effect for you. Maximum Warp, the play effect, draw 2 cards and discard 1 to draw cards. You may warp a ship. This is a way for you to be able to warp ships, because the ships you pick up in the market are going to need the lithium to be able to warp, and you're not going to be able to do that all the time. So it gives you a way to do it, and you get some card draw. Strange New Worlds. This is the way that the Starfleet captains are able to gain encounters. Action play. Select a controlled location. If there's an away team in the ship there, look at the top 2 encounter. Take one of them and return the other to the bottom of the deck. Log the return location to gain 1 science. Just a pretty solid card all the way around. It tends to hang around in your deck a while before you're ready to use it. But when you are ready to use it, getting the encounters is good. And recover, action play, take an incident to gain a ship from the junk, and action play, spend 1 latinum to gain a cargo. So another thing here about recover that is unique, the only way that Burnham can get ships is from the junk, and that's kind of rough. It means really early in the game you can't even get them, because there's got to be a ship that's junked. And usually it's going to be sometime after the first Stardate card before you're able to get any ships in the junk. And you're not going to necessarily have a lot of choice in there. The good ships that you may want to get that would be helpful for you may get grabbed by your opponent before they ever go into the junk, and you've got no way to do anything about that. There are some other cards out there that can let you gain ships. And finding one of them may be useful to you, because that is pretty rough. Got other ways to get cargo. That's not a bad way. But yeah, it is a little hard on you for the getting ships. Okay, we have 4 reserve cards, so not a big reserve deck. You get into the developments pretty easy. I'm going to start off with Hugh Culber, Starfleet Doctor, and Human Traits. And action play, you can find a person or incident. You may free play an incident to gain 1 glory. This and nothing else. If you got like an incident that's in your discard pile or in your deck and Colbert comes up, you can just get rid of it right away there and not have to wait to draw the thing, and just get it out, or get rid of it if you've already discarded it. So a good plan there. You can even do something like have the incident be the card that you discard on that turn out of your hand for some other effect on something, and then use Colbert to grab it out of the discard pile and get rid of it. And basically, since it free plays it, cost an action to play here, that basically evens out. So a good way to get rid of incidents. Reaction, after taking an incident, discard a person or directive to return it and gain 1 science. So kind of like other doctors that we've seen, like Dr. Crusher and Picard's deck, able to get rid of incidents. So if you're worried about incidents, he's a good way to get rid of them there. Navarre, a location. This is basically what Vulcan gets named after the Romulans and Vulcans reunite. Has another one of these question mark skills up there. Play action, take control of this location, remove 1 glory from the Stardate card. Not take it, just remove it. The control effect, you may find Inspire or scan for an Ambassador. The passive effect, once it's on the table, this card has 1 science for each Vulcan, 1 influence for each ambassador, and 1 military for each Romulan you have in play, including traits on this card. So this will, just anytime you go to bump up your skills there, you're going to have at least a science and a military because of that, and possibly some others because of other cards that you have. Book ship. Yes, this is the ship that belongs to Cleveland Booker. Action play. Deploy this card. You may send an away team to a location, ignoring any opponent ship. That's because it has a cloak trait, and that's the standard cloak effect. The activation. Discard a card to warp this ship. Once again, does not take dilithium to warp it, so that's nice. Activation. Discard a card to recall a card beamed here. And the reaction, when an attack would dismiss your duty officer, dismiss a card beamed here to ignore the effect. So it can protect your duty officer by having other cards beamed to that. But how do those cards get beamed there? Well, that's going to be with Grudge, who's a creature and cargo. Free play. You may free play Cleveland Booker or book ship. Also, you may beam this card and another card to book ship. Junk a card from a market. So you're going to end up beaming those in there with Grudge and some other card. Can get beamed to book ship, and then they just hang out there as long as book ship is deployed and kind of protect your duty officer and keep them from having to be dismissed. Okay, taking a look at the development cards. We have a Diratal, a person with Starfleet, human, and Trill traits. They are 2 points and have a development cost of 2 dilithium, and you have to have 7 science. Their play effect, log a card from your hand or discard pile to find any card. Let you log cards there, which is helpful for some of those effects. Being able to just like find a card is pretty darn helpful. So whenever they show up here, Adira is useful to be able to grab some other thing that you were wanting to specifically use. And I'll talk about later about some other things you can do with them that can be really good using some other cards with them. The reactions, when you would gain a card, scan 2 of the same suit instead and gain 1 glory. So gains you glory and speeds the game up, but lets you scan 2, which is pretty awesome. And the passive, you may have an additional person with scientist or engineer on duty. Jet Reno. Jet Reno. Yes, this is a deck building game with Tig Notaro in it. What a world we live in. Starfleet, engineer, and human traits. 3 points. The development cost is dismiss a deployed ship, so don't have to pay anything for it, but you do have to dismiss one of your ships, which kind of sucks. Her 2 play effects are gain 3 dilithium, which would go to the card, or recrystallize 2 dilithium. These are free and don't cost an action. I'm going to tell you right now, Dira and Jet Reno are going to be the 2 that you really want to get pretty early out of your development deck there. These are 2 that are going to help you a lot because these effects are good, because you're going to see as we start going through this, you start needing a lot of dilithium to get your other development cards, and you can't really get them if you don't have any dilithium, and you can have a hard time getting dilithium. So this is one good way, one good consistent way to get them back. Activation, take an incident to gain a cargo or a ship and discard the gained card. This lets you gain ships directly from the market, which is another good reason to have this one, because as you know, the other card that we have there, Recover, only lets you gain them from the junk. So you got to get into the development deck before you can start taking them directly. But you do have to make Reno your duty officer to be able to get to that, so it's a little complicated. Admiral Vance, Starfleet and human traits, has a influence and military skills. 2 points, the development cost of 2 dilithium. Action play, gain an ally, draw a card. Just get allies for free. So really between these 2 here, just spending 3 dilithium or just doing it as an action there. It does cost you an action, but it is something that's good. His activation effect, if you have an away team on a controlled location, draw a card. If you have 3 total away teams on one or more controlled location, draw a card. You may discard an incident to gain an action. Okay, so this is basically what most of the other captains have, is some location that they can control. You have Admiral Vance that gives you that. Now, Admiral Vance doesn't come along until later in the game because he's a development card. Dr. Kovich. Yes, this is a deck building game with David Cronenberg in it. What a world we live in. He has human traits and a science skill, science focus as well. The development cost is find an encounter and log it. Now, it depends on what encounter you're able to get. If you get one of the encounters that has limited usability, you might be willing to just log it because it doesn't matter. That gets it from clogging up your hand. A lot of them you are willing to. There's just a handful that are useful for things. That can actually be a bonus for you there. You're going to be moving the science tracker up, so you are going to get some points for this guy. Action play. Draw a card. For each anomaly you have in play, gain a science. For each ambassador you have in play, gain an influence. For each alien you have in play, gain a military. So it can move these along for you there. The passive, increase your hand size by 1 for each of the skill tracks that you have at 5 or higher. So this is another person that can help increase your hand size. USS Federation, it's a ship with Starfleet and Starbase traits. It is kind of a starbase as well as a ship. It's 32nd century, things are a little crazy. 2 wild skills, science focus. The development cost is 6 dilithium. 6, that's a lot. Or free if Admiral Vance is your duty officer. You could drop Vance in there to be a duty officer and use him just to get USS Federation for free, since dilithium's kind of hard to come by. Action play, deploy this ship. You may spend 1 dilithium to warp this ship. Okay, this one does cost you dilithium to warp it. Its activation is promote a person from your hand to duty officer. And the end game, score 1 for each of your cards with the science or military. So this one can only be warped when you deploy it. It does let you promote a person from your hand to duty officer. Reunite the Federation, you have to have an anomaly logged. And if you remember, Discovery is an anomaly. If you end up logging Discovery, you could deploy to USS Federation just to use it to be able to keep changing your duty officer so you don't lose that effect. There are other anomalies out there, but Discovery is one that you can find and get for that. Transworm, creature, and alien traits. 2 points, cost 3 latinum. Oh, hey, latinum, you got latinum. You can spend latinum. Action play, junk a card from the market, spend 1 latinum to gain a person or cargo, and log it. If the gain card has 3 or more traits, gain 1 glory. This is pretty much just getting you some free points whenever you do it, because that person's not going into your deck, so you really don't care about them. It's just whatever points they have, they go straight into the log. You get the points. Don't have to have them clog up your deck if you really don't want them. If you got the latinum and got the action to spare, why not play Transform? And location, Earth. And it kind of bothers me that I cannot look at this and instantly recognize that it's Earth, because I feel that I should be able to recognize my home planet, but, has a human trait because there are humans on Earth. 5 points. Development cost is have 8 science and 5 influence, so it doesn't actually cost you anything. You just have to have these tracks up. Once you get them there, yeah, it's a good one to grab because 5 points. The action play is take control of this location, and the control is you gain a person. Activation is gain 1 influence and science. So basically, once this thing's out there, once you got Earth in play, you just activate it every turn and move your influence and military up. And lastly, Theta Zeta, which is an anomaly. Action play, take control of this location. Control, recrystallize all dilithium. Log inert dilithium from play and gain 4 glory. Passive, you cannot send away teams here, so no one wants to go there for an away team. The end game, score 1 for every 2 dilithium you have. So you can play this and you can just start gaining dilithium like a normal person, because this card goes away. Now remember, when this card goes away, that top effect of increasing your hand size by 1 goes away. Development cost is you got to have 12 science, so it takes a little bit to get it. This has no points on it, so you're getting this just for the effect. It has no other thing that it does for you. So you kind of got to decide late game if this is something you want to even do. If you did somehow manage to get a big stack of dilithium, you can actually get some points on it that way. So that's a look at the deck there. We'll talk about a few different things on this. One really interesting thing is going to be the passive that we have here of placing dilithium on the market. You've got to be able to figure out what cards you're planning on grabbing your next turn and try to get dilithium on those, because any dilithium you gain off a card from the market, you get goes straight to your supply. It does not go to inert dilithium. So that's just dilithium you can use right away. And being able to do that is really important. So you got to know what your opponent's going to do, try to figure out what your opponent's going to do, or specifically know what the bots are going to do if you're playing against a bot. But just getting dilithium off the cards there is a good way to get that really quickly there. Going into the missions here, both of these, first to investigate the burn and reunite the Federation, involve putting cards on the ship. So you've got to get on that pretty early, because it's going to take you several turns to get those cards onto a ship. I really find dealing with the Emerald Chain, I can usually pull that one off pretty easy, and that's like the 6-pointer, which should be the hard one. I'm usually able to get that one a lot easier there. Okay, so the cards that are good for you here as far as ships are, again, these 4 ships here are going to be particularly good ones for you here. The Borg Probe and the Voth Research Vessel, they do not cost dilithium to warp, so these are going to be easier ones for you to get around. Borg Probe also deploying and warping without spending an action is pretty awesome. Additionally, the Reliant and the Dakir Cruiser actually deploy and warp this ship as they go out there. To warp it once it's already been deployed will cost you a dilithium, but the first time you put them out, you don't have to do that. So that's 4 that work really well for you there. Like I said, early game, before you get Reno, it's hard to pick up ships from anywhere, because you've got to get them from the junk, and that just makes it a lot harder for you. Also, I missed it earlier, we have 2 other ships that can warp without spending a dilithium. That is the Bird of Prey and the Holographic Drone Ship. The Holographic Drone Ship does require you to discard a telepath to deploy it. You do have Cleveland Booker, who is a telepath, so you do have a way to get it out there, but it's a little limited. Going into locations, we've got 6 locations here that have either business or Orion tags on them, so that helps out a lot. For this one has Orion and Shady, so it could count for either of those, because you can log this with Strange New Worlds, but you can't use it to count as both, because it can't be in play and logged at the same time. It can only be one or the other. But anyway, these locations were Corvin, Ryza, Tolgana 4, Free Cloud, and Varix 3. Additionally, we have Baku and Indri 8, which are anomalies, which could be logged to be an anomaly there. Going over Ryza, there's some interesting thing here that Ryza really does well with Burnham's deck, and that is beam cards to it and then just recall them back. So you can beam people there, and just recall one as you need it. That could be a good way to get some of these people out of your deck and thin it down, but also be able to pull some of them out when you need them. You know, if you get one of the ones that can help you send out the away teams, like a Wusakun or Detmer, but you're not really ready to do the away team, then you can send them to Ryza. It's also a good place to put Adira at until you are ready to use them at some point. Just keep them there until you're ready to use them to find that card. Every time you grab one out of there, you do get a Latinum back. So really, Ryza, just because of the large number of people in Burnham's deck, it's really good. This being a starting location, there's only like a 40% chance of it being in play. But it's one that if you see it go out, you need to like get ships on it and start securing that right away, because this is one you really want to get because it's good for that, and it also counts as one of your business. Now, as far as finding shadies for this, you've got 5 people here: Captain Dorg, Lursa, Admiral Pressman, Moriarty, and Harry Mudd that are shady. Additionally, Tevrin Crit is also a business. Additionally, looking at Lursa has ways to gain ships. It does take you an incident to do it, but you can pull them directly from the market. And that would be a way for you before you get to Jet Reno to be able to actually get some ships that way. Notable cargoes are going to be the Forced Singularity and Unstable Wormhole, which both have anomaly traits, and the Holosuite, which is a business. So looking at some of the allies, we have the Organians, which are an anomaly. The Emerald Chain has both Orion and Shady tags. The Lethians have Shady tags, and the Karama have a business tag. And from the encounter deck, the Guardian Forever and the Ancient Gene Fragments both have anomaly traits. So anyway, an interesting one to play here that you've got to work around not being able to get the lithium as easy, not being able to get ships as easy. It can make things a little harder for Burnham, but she definitely has a lot of upsides there once you kind of figure her out and play with her for a while. So anyway, if you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down to the comment section and let me know what all you think down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure you catch all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.